what you thought you knew from the shed of dreams, the leak in review.
And we're back. Another episode of The Leak in Review. I'm really excited about this one because it's with singer-songwriter, indie folkster, DIY before anybody knew what DIY was, artist Jeremy Fisher. Jeremy has a story to tell about almost every day of his life, and these stories are different than what you would ever expect. He's not afraid to try. He's not afraid to heat up a can of beans on the side of the highway. He's definitely got a motor, and he's an excellent performer. My chat with Jeremy Fisher coming up in just a bit.
Where there's a heartbeat and a stage, there's an artist set to perform. This is The Leak in Review on tour.
Brought to you by the Pecan Agency, connecting bands with fans worldwide. Zach Bryan, the Quittin' Time Tour. It's going to be at Notre Dame Stadium on September 6th. That's in South Bend, Indiana. The Born and Raised Festival in Oklahoma on the 13th of September. And Sacramento on September 21st. And Band of Horses, who are co-headlining with Iron and Wine. They're going to be in Redmond, Washington on the 18th of September. They play the Greek Theater on the 20th. And then it's Salt Lake City on September 25th.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Whoa, if it isn't Jeremy Fisher.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Only because we're having this conversation today. Otherwise, I would have been like...
I'm glad to be the one to lift your spirits.
Otherwise, I would have just been like complaining about heat or something like that.
There is a case to be made for that.
My friend sent me a text yesterday. It was 138 degrees in Bahrain, where he was.
No.
138 degrees.
So clearly we're talking Fahrenheit, but that is that's obscene. I've felt like 112 in the mall parking lot of Phoenix, Arizona, and it felt like, opening the oven door and the broiler coming at your head.
138 degrees. He's doing he's a pilot, so they have to do the check of the plane. So they get outside on the tarmac and they do the lap and they just make sure that it's got all its wheels and all of its wings and all of those usual things. He was outside for about 10 minutes and it looked like someone had hit him with a hose. It was pretty wild. So, hey, we get used to it, right? We get used to whatever the climate is that you're in. You get used to it. There's people who are in northern territories who are, it hits 10 degrees and it's a balmy beach day and you climatize. I believe it's what they say. The kids call it climatization.
Billy Joel said we didn't start the fire, but I'm not sure he's right about that.
There's arguments to be made otherwise. You're right. Jeremy, you talk about being in Phoenix, you talk about being in different locations throughout your life and your career and stuff like that. You've got this wild history of just ending up in spots. Like, I swear I've run into you at non-music related events in various cities just because you happen to be in that town. It seems to me the nomad in you has tampered down a little bit. You've been in Ottawa for about a decade now.
13 years, man. I've been here 13 years. Yeah. It has. I was very much that person, and we have run into each other all over the place. Sometimes I might have even arrived on my bicycle. There's not a lot of that bicycle touring going on anymore. Yeah, I'm finding my place here in Ottawa. It's sort of like the last city I thought I would call home for some reason, based on like all my travels, like I never put it, you go to certain places and you're like, LA, might want to live there for a while at some point, or Austin, or Madison, Wisconsin, or I don't know, Brighton. You can like, but Ottawa never was like that on that wish list. And then I moved here with extremely low expectations, and I love it. And I've got a great community, and I've got a great little family and partner and a dog and this studio I'm sitting in behind my house, and life is good.
Didn't you start off in Ottawa as a child before moving to Vancouver Island, or was it Vancouver Island right off the bat?
No, it was Hamilton. I originally was born in Hamilton. I left there in the late 90s, like pretty much most of my generation. And that's how I found myself out west. So yeah, I started my career out west, and then I got here via Montreal. I got lots of hometowns.
Lots of residences. Thankfully,
Yeah.
you don't need to have a passport to get into every one of these provinces, because you would have like so many passports and so many pages stamped. It's ironic that you were in Hamilton when a lot of people left, where today a lot of people are going back into Hamilton, especially the music scene, it seems, is really being driven into that area.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of my friends who were, found their way to Toronto, and like musician friends who wanted to like buy a house and have a family, ended up in Hamilton maybe a decade ago, and a lot of friends moved back. And my mom's still there, so I go there a few times a year to visit and to play when I'm in the area. I'll pop in, and I love it there. But yeah, it's funny that I never found my way back. Almost, but
Well, you did bring up the
haven't lived
fact
there since '98, I don't think.
you brought up, and that was right when you went out west, and immediately, did you ride your bike out west originally? Like a 12-speed Sakini?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd like to say I just rode out of Hamilton on my bike, but no, actually, the way I got started with all the bike stuff was my best friend was going to UBC, and he called me and said, I'm going to drop out of school and ride my bike home. And I was just looking for adventure. Like I just finished the music program at Mohawk College in Hamilton, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I'd been like gigging around in a cover band, and I was teaching guitar lessons and stuff, and that was fine, but I was 21 years old, and I needed adventure. So I said, like, I'm going to come with you. Let's ride together. With like the beginning of 6 years of nomadic bicycle travel, 3 times back and forth across the country, and, living in a little shelter we built in Ashland, Wisconsin, up on Lake Superior. And yeah, that's how I found my way to doing this, getting out of like playing covers and writing songs about my life and playing them on the street corner.
But when your buddy asked you and said, hey, I'm going to drop out of school, I'm done with UBC, I'm going to ride back to Hamilton at that time, I guess, you immediately said, yes, you must have been riding your bike a lot. You must have been in some sort of club or no riding
I'm
club.
not that guy. I'm not that guy. No, I'm not at all. Like my bike is like a upright handlebars. I like to be comfortable. I'm not going for speed. I've never trained on a bike, and that's gotten me into some like awkward social situations sometimes when people are like, you're the bike guy. Let's do an easy 90K through the mountains or something. Like, no, man, I take 6 months to do it, and I have a tent and a can of beans on a stove. Like I do it like an old school, I'm like the guy on horseback in the 1800s, but on an aluminum bike.
I want to get this right, because you just mentioned you've gone across the US and Canada 3 times. You ride with your buddy the first time, and then that inspires you to do a cycling tour with your guitar now strapped on your back.
Yeah, so it's sort of funny. Like what actually happened is on that tour with my buddy, he was like, you might be able to tell, he was ready to go off grid. He was into like, big Adbusters reader in the 90s, and he was like really in that sort of alternative, anti-corporate, sort of anti-capitalism thing. And he was like, he wanted to go off grid. And I was just sort of like, sounds like fun. But then in Moose Jaw, I went to buy some groceries. I had like a debit card. I didn't even have a credit card to my name. I had a debit card, and I belonged to a credit union in Hamilton, Ontario, the Hamilton Teachers Credit Union, one branch on James Street North. I go to use my debit card to buy some groceries. And I had like $500 in my account, like to last me the whole summer riding, And I went to buy some groceries. My card got declined. I called the branch. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's probably the magnetic strip. Come on down. We'll give you a new one." And I was like, "Well, I'm in Moose Jaw." They couldn't get me a new card. This is 1998, and
And you have no phone. There's no
and I have
cell
no
phone.
phone. Oh God, no. We made our way across the country on our bicycles. We had like one fold out map that had like all of Canada, had like the two roads that go all the way across Canada and a couple of like urban centers sort of blown up. And that was it. And like we had phone cards to call our families, like once a week, sort of like preloaded phone cards. And yeah, so we just started collecting cans and bottles at the side of the road to make our way. We had like 600 cans and bottles by the time we got to the
Wait,
east
what happened? What
coast.
happened with the credit union though? You were
Oh, they're like you come down and get a new card, but I had no way to get there. Like I'm in Moose Jaw on my bicycle. So that was the only way to get a new card at that time.
right. You
And
had to go to
they
your home branch, and there's only one branch, and that is 4,000 kilometers away.
Yeah, in Hamilton, and yet I'd show my ID and all that stuff, right? They wouldn't just mail me one, especially not general delivery to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
The
So
Husky station.
yeah, yeah. You could probably do that now. So I just we started collecting cans and bottles, and then I started borrowing guitars and busking. Like I busked in the mall in the downtown Regina, that pedestrian area in the middle of the city.
Where would you
I
find a
start
guitar if you're just riding through town?
Oh, just other hobos, other people just like traveling across the country. You'd meet people, you just find those people because we'd be going to soup kitchens and stuff, and you just find someone that had a guitar that was fine, or like in at the Forks in Winnipeg, we made friends with some folks like, and yeah, I just started busking, and then we ended up in this little town called Ashland, Wisconsin, and I've met a friend there who like lent me a guitar for the whole winter. So I started gigging in little coffee shops and stuff. So that's how I started writing my own songs and just writing about my life, and kind of found my way into being a singer-songwriter instead of being just, teaching guitar and playing in a cover band, and that's all I wanted to do. So I just kept yeah, so I was like, oh, what does a musician do? A musician tours around and plays shows. So I started touring around on my bicycle, I bought a little pawn shop guitar. Actually, my dad bought it for me in Victoria. And this little old bolt-on neck Framus from, like East Germany, I think it was. And yeah, and so I just started playing gigs, and Leak, I signed my Sony deal off a couple years after that. Like I was literally on a bicycle tour when I got the call from my manager at the time saying like Sony wants to sign a publishing deal and a record deal, and they flew me out. I was on Hornby Island in BC camping on a beach, and by that time I did have a little flip phone, and
I
yeah.
was just gonna say, how do they find you?
Yeah, no,
How did
but
they know you're on that beach?
that was 2004, and that was I'd probably for a couple months I'd had a cell phone for that very reason. Like I had a manager, I had an agent, but I was still out there on my bike.
Wasn't there a point too when you didn't have that cell phone and you're riding your bike through the US and you were kind of flipping through the phone book or something like that, just looking for coffee shops, asking if they would host a singer-songwriter like yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, little folk clubs, farmers markets, like, and not even a phone book. Like this was internet 1.0, so I was, people had websites and there were directories online, and what I'd typically do is I'd find singer-songwriters that were doing the thing. I'd go to their website and I'd see, okay, where's this person playing in Mankato, Minnesota? Okay, it's the, whatever, the Black Cat Cafe. And then, yeah, I might find a phone book or look it up online if they had a number online, and I'd call them and I'd send them my 8x10 black and white promo glossy with my email address and phone number on it, and send them a compact disc to sample my music and
Sample your sounds. That's right, because there
sample
would be
my
no
sound.
digital. There would be no digital download.
No digital download. It was so expensive. And I'd be like couriering these things around the country. And then my little bio, which is like, I would love to get a hold of that bio. It makes me cringe even thinking about like how I tried to make myself sound like I'd done anything, like it was so, now we're in this world where like you just, what you're doing speaks for you. Like everybody's so findable, and you can like you can figure out what someone's all about based on their online presence. But back then, you had to just front, and you had to like, try and make it seem like you had something going on. And then you're going to this town and you're hoping that they put posters up, and a lot of the time I was playing for tips, it was like pass the hat kind of thing. So it wasn't hard to book those gigs.
What would be your biggest tip day, and what town were you in?
I want to say it was, I think I can even remember. Here's some details for you. I want to say Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I want to say the place was Higher Ground Coffee. And I also remember I did an NPR interview. It was one of the few bits of press I was able to get on that tour, and I did it from a phone booth. So some people came out because I got to tell my story, and they heard it on their local NPR station, by my standards at the time, like a packed house. And I showed up, and they had a little sound system, and they had a microphone and a cable. They didn't have a stand, so I had to put a mop in a mop bucket and put like duct tape the mic to the top of the mop handle. And I probably walked out of there with like $120 maybe US.
And that was going to take you probably for another what? Would that give you another 2 weeks of touring?
At that time, yes, indeed. I could live on about $2, $2.50 a day back then. And that was living high on the hog, I thought.
Now you're pretentious.
Yeah. Walking at like $120, like back then, I can still feel what it would have felt like. It would be like me feeling like probably like I had $1,000 today, easy. Like, like if I found $1,000 bill in an old shirt pocket or something like that.
Yeah, you put on that old jacket that you haven't worn since, for a couple of years. You reach into the pocket, and there it is.
Yeah,
the $2,000 bill.
Yeah, like a mortgage payment.
Well, you have tour dates coming up. You've got Nova Scotia, you've got Kingston, you're on the East Coast. Will there be a bike involved on this tour?
There will be no bike. There may be a Mazda 5 involved on this tour. I haven't worked out the logistics. And yeah, I want to say I am playing Kingston. And when I saw that come in, it is Kingston, New Brunswick, which is a long ways from Kingston, Ontario. So I'm at the Cottage in Kingston, New Brunswick, which is an intimate little venue. You can find, they have a Facebook page. So yeah, it's all East Coast. I'm hitting the trail side in Charlottetown, the Cottage in Kingston, New Brunswick. I am doing the Carlton in Halifax, favorite place I've played many, many times. And then I'm doing the Deep Roots Festival, and that's a family show in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. And it's not announced yet, but I'm going to give you the scoop. I also am just finalizing the details on playing Sydney, Nova Scotia. Cape Breton Island, which is where I just was for my vacation. I go there every summer. I love it out there. And so we're adding that date. I think it's going to be Tuesday, September 23rd. We'll be announcing that soon, but you heard it here first.
What are your shows like? Are you telling stories, telling tales along the way? Because I've seen you do a little bit of that in the past, but that was during a time where you might have had a 40-minute set.
Yeah, I do tell a lot of stories. I tend to do an evening with most of the times where I'll play two sets. A couple of the dates, I think Trailside in Charlottetown and Carlton in Halifax, Dennis Ellsworth is opening up. So I'll just be doing one set. But yeah, I'm playing a good hour, 75 minutes. And I tell lots of stories. I am playing solo, but it's a pretty big, like, if I do say so myself, like it's a pretty energetic set. It's not like it's not just finger picking in the corner of a coffee house type of thing. Like I play songs from my whole catalog. I play songs from the Sony years and my wind up record years. Yeah, all my records get lots of love. I take requests. It's a good time. We sing together. It's a lot of fun.
Let's talk about your online presence today. I think
All right.
what you are doing online is fantastic. Your tutorials are incredible.
Well, thanks. I suppose that speaks to my humble beginnings as a music teacher, as a guitar teacher. That's kind of like one day I just actually, you know what it was? I got booked to do like a keynote address at an online conference, and I was really nervous about it because I just had never done something like that before, and it was COVID, and I hadn't been talking to anybody, except for the people I make my TV show with. And so I started challenging myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to get on here and just talk every day. And I sort of gravitated toward these guitar lessons and music lessons. And I was like, wow, this is fun. And I didn't have a lot of time with two young kids in my life to sit down and play guitar. It gave me a chance to like focus on my guitar playing for the first time in many years. So I love it. It's a great outlet. It's a great like way for me to like put something online that feels like it's not as much about me as it is about the people who are watching it and what they want to see. And yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it, Leek. I like making it.
Well, you are basically, in my opinion, you are the best person for the internet in a sense of when it comes to creating content, because you don't mind doing it. A lot of artists, I was just talking to someone the other day, like I talked to lots of people about this. They hate the internet. They just want to go into the studio, write a song. They want to get on stage, perform that song, all of that stuff. But it's the social aspect of it that they hate. And I get it. There's parts of social that I cannot stand. But you have always been this creative person. Like you famously did Cigarette, a claymation video, which went viral, that took you to another level as Jeremy Fisher. And
Yeah.
but you've always been kind of that guy. What was your arts training that got you into that kind of cinematic field that now leads you to cartoons and everything today?
Yeah, that was, I was just thinking about this the other day. Like I can pinpoint the exact moment that made me jump onto the YouTube thing when it was like brand new. Like those videos, I made them in like 2006 and YouTube was a brand new thing. And that Halloween, I had an artist friend out west, a whole bunch of us for Halloween. We went to this event and she taught us how to make these masks. So we all made different bird masks out of like plaster. And she showed us how to mold them to our heads. And I was just like, when I was done, I was like, I can't believe I made this thing. Like I didn't know I could do this. And with her just like showing me and the rest of us how to do it, we made these incredible masks because we had this expert knowledge, right, of how to do it. And it wasn't that hard to make something that looked kind of cool. And I remember just feeling empowered, and I was out of my Sony deal. I was not yet signed to Wind Up, but I had signed a deal with Aquarius Records, and the budget was much smaller. And they're like, we need to make videos, but there's no budget. And I had this little handycam, and the internet was just at that point where you could start to Google and find out how to do stuff, and people were showing you how to do things on YouTube. And that's how I learned what YouTube was. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to use this technology as a means to promote my music and what I'm doing and connect with people. And so I just took all the stuff I had. I bought this little software for like $60 and I made 3 videos for that. That was my budget. I might have even gotten the $60 reimbursed by Aquarius. I'm not sure. And then, yeah, the cigarette video went viral, as we call it now, at the time. And, was on the front page. Actually, who was instrumental in getting that in front of people?
Who's that?
Is Tyler Bancroft from Said the Whale.
Oh, really? What was he doing? How did he champion it?
He was doing an internship at Frontside Promotions, who were doing all my
Your PR
promo.
radio.
Yeah, all that stuff. And he was an intern. He was like 20 years old at the time, and maybe early 20s. And he was just like, he took a meeting and he's like, this is what you got to do. And so I was like, here's 3 videos. And he was like, I can work with this. And I think he just like cold emailed or he had some contact at YouTube and they put it up on the front page because it used to be you'd type in youtube.com, HTTP back,
Yeah.
www.youtube.
They would feature videos instead of now your feed just feeds you what you saw yesterday.
That's right. And Tyler was the guy who got that up there and sort of orchestrated. As far as I know, it'd be interesting. I've never even talked to him about it. I haven't in recent memory. We're still in touch. We still text every once in a while. But yeah, that was the guy who kind of like sort of he was just young and hungry and wanted to prove himself and he made that happen. And then you're absolutely right. Like that got the attention of labels in the US. That's how I signed my wind up deal. And that truly changed my life.
And then you ended up doing like late night TV and stuff directly from that.
Yeah, I went on Craig Ferguson, did a couple nights on Craig Ferguson, which was awesome. And Tony Danza was on one of the nights, and
Handsome man.
Yeah. And Dave Foley my band was Craig Northey and Pat Stewart from Odds.
Yeah.
And so they're good buds with Kids in the Hall. So Dave Foley came down to hang out, which was really like, he was just coming to see his friends, but that made me feel really good because, who was I to like, I was this nobody. I guarantee you Craig Ferguson had never heard my name before, but he's buds with Dave Foley. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, it was a really fun time. And I got to do a lot of cool stuff in those days on that record.
Let's fast forward to 5 years ago. I'm guessing 5-6 years ago, you start working in children's programming. Is it 6 years ago?
So 2018, I put out my first children's album. And I was like, after I put out, in 2014, I put out a record called The Lemon Squeeze. I had a couple songs that were, did okay on radio and had a good run with that record. Then I had my first kid in 2016 and I was just like wanted to be home and I started this little side project. I was like, I'll take these silly songs I'm writing. Like being a dad has been a real natural thing in my life. I like a naturally silly person, curious person. I feel like a big kid. So I enjoy the things of childhood. I still like to play with Lego.
Why not?
Like I still love all that stuff. So I started writing these silly songs with my first daughter, who's now 9, and I just recorded them as a side project. And then I started getting booked at like teacher friends were like, you want to come play our school? So I went and played songs at schools, and then festivals were like, hey, you want to come and play like the main stage and do your family stuff on the children's stage. And so I just started, it kind of like was this thing that chose me. I thought I was just doing this little side project, and the more I did it, the more I loved doing it. And it really fit with my young family schedule. And eventually I met my business partner, Virginia Thompson, of Verite Films. She makes Corner Gas and Corner Gas Animated. And I was like, just kind of like picking her brain. I met through a mutual friend and took her out for coffee to see if I could learn a little bit about TV. I kind of wanted to make some little videos to see if I could get them on TV or whatever. And she said, I love this. Let's work together. And that's how we got into development. Now we're talking, like 2018, late 2018. And then we were in development. And now we're just about to put our 4th season of Jeremy and Jazzy out on CBC and CBC Gem.
I love that it started with an album called Highway to Spell.
Yeah.
It is so perfect. And again, I think that there's a lot of people who are in whatever lane that they're in, but it's not the lane for them. They don't enjoy it. And I don't think the lane enjoys having them in it. There's people who go to school for, to get their doctorate and whatever. And then they end up getting into a career that they hate right off the bat. I have a friend who was a dentist for maybe 5 years, hated it, got completely out of it. Right.
Heard this about dentists. Yeah.
Imagine looking into the inners of someone's face. But I just love how the music and the story kind of blended so well with you, you know, where you almost found each other, even though one is not real and the other one is a breathing human being. But I just love how it all mixes together, because you give such great stage. You're so charismatic, and anybody who speaks with you should want to hear another story from you, because you have that many tales. And there's not, I'm sure you probably drive some of your neighbors wild because you're so easygoing. They're like, damn it, that Jeremy Fisher.
Yeah, maybe it seems that way. I mean, I will say, you know, I do feel like I'm very grateful for the life I have, and it does feel, I feel like it is a charmed life a lot of the time, and I got to say, I got great parents who were really supportive, especially of my music, all through my life, and I had great music teachers. I guess it's just like having that security, feeling of security and confidence, sometimes unfounded confidence, bravado, hubris, maybe even, to just lean into the thing that's making me happy and seems to be making other people happy. And then I've gotten to do it. And there are definitely moments where I've leaned into the wrong things and it doesn't pan out, but you know, it's just like, that's a part of it too, is like knowing when to, you know, stop chasing the one thing and follow another. So yeah, I'm lucky, man. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm very lucky. I love what I do. I make cartoons in the studio in my backyard that I built making money by touring around the world playing my acoustic guitar to people.
Jeremy Fisher music everywhere on the internet. Jeremy and Jazzy, CBC and CBC Gem. The tour coming up with Jeremy Fisher throughout September on the East Coast, and I'm hoping more dates to come, because I really do believe that you're the one-man show, if there ever was one, because you can play the instruments, but you can tell the story at the same time, and it's always great having a conversation with you, man.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear from you too, and thanks for reaching out, and thanks for having me on. It's been great chatting.
Now forget everything that you thought you knew from the shadow.